Warning. The Outsider's Edge contains strong opinions, unconventional views, and contrarian stances. Listen, if you dare.
Hey, yo! What's going on, everybody? Thank you for listening to another edition of the Outsider's Edge podcast. It's your boy Rance, aka Ray Cash. I am with, once again, my partner in crime. I'm with the big homie Carl Irvin. What's happening, Carl?
Not much. Is this three in a row that I've been on now?
I'm telling you, bro, like, you gonna disappear for like 2 months.
Yeah, you guys, just the first time you don't hear me on an episode, just prepare for a lot of guests for like 6 weeks in a row or something like that.
Carl's gonna go on a sabbatical.
I have to. I get tired of this shit after a while. I gotta get away from you people.
Your name's
He's
on
got
the
to finish
marquee.
that column.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that column that we were waiting on for like
Don't worry.
17
I have, some,
weeks.
I have some big news about that at the end of the episode, so don't worry.
So I know you guys just heard another voice. So let me give this prestigious introduction to my big homie. This young man was officially the first guy to ever give a shit about anything me, Carl, or Caleb when he was with us had to say audibly. First guy ever, and has been with us since then. Has become a really good friend of ours, and we affectionately call him my first fan. And I guess you could call him the third, fourth member of the podcast, whatever you want to call him. But he is with us today. We have the big homie Rob Daniels. What's happening, Rob?
Hey, long time listener, first time caller.
First time, long time.
All right, had to do it. Thanks for having me on, guys.
No, we appreciate you, man. So I think the interest of having you on, just other than you supported us from the very beginning, is that a lot of the times when we talk, Carl and I, we're nobodies, right? We're just two regular dudes living, but we've been writing columns and doing something in the public wrestle sphere for years, damn near a decade now. People know us to a very small extent or whatever. Normally when we have somebody on, is somebody much like us. You are the first guy I think we've had on who is just a dude who like wrestling. And I think it's really important to talk to somebody who doesn't have an agenda to push. And I don't mean that from a negative standpoint, because we do too. But you're just a guy who likes watching wrestling. So your opinions, in fact, I think matter more to me than a lot of other people's.
I'm just your average Joe.
And here's the good part about it. If we ever start making money doing this, which God knows, God willing, right? But if we ever did, we can.
Yeah.
You know how companies when they open, they get that first dollar and they hang it on the wall. We're just gonna staple Rob to the wall as soon as we start making money for the first fan. Looking forward to it. We're just gonna match your head on the wall. Sorry, buddy. This is the way it's gonna be.
We're going to water you
All right,
3 times a day.
Just take care of
Yeah.
my family. You can stick my head anywhere you want.
Yeah, fair enough. I like it.
You are definitely leaving that up to innuendo, sir, because you know me and Carl well enough to know that you can't just leave open-ended stuff like that.
$4,000.
Oh yeah, that's right. $4,000. That's it. He'll do anything.
That's it for $4,000.
Hit up his
Yep,
Venmo
that's my
account,
price.
boys.
That's your
Ted DiBiase had it right.
okay. I'm gonna keep that in mind. So before we start, you hit me and Carl up with a tremendous theory, something I've been saying forever, but you put it more eloquently than I could ever put it. I really want the people to hear what you have to say, so the floor is yours.
Okay. I wouldn't say that this is my theory by any means. This is obviously pieced together from a lot of the stuff that I've heard mentioned here on this podcast. My theory is basically kayfabe isn't dead. It's still alive. It's just evolved. You think kayfabe, you think the classic Dr. D. David Schultz slapping the piss out of John Stossel trying to maintain kayfabe about whether wrestling was real or not. But we're just telling a different story now. You know, the whole point of a wrestling promoter is to sell you on their story. They want to get you emotionally invested and get you involved in any way that they can. We've heard legendary tales of kayfabe wrestlers leaving restaurants just because their rival for the territory is there, or traveling in different cars, doing everything they can to maintain that. We still have it. It's just in a different form now. I think the general opinion is that kayfabe is dead, and we all say that because we have different levels of access now. We see behind the curtain, or we think that we do. We're all plugged into the rumor mill on whatever our favorite site is, or on Twitter. We all think that we see behind the curtain. We know what's going on, and it's really bad because of social media. We know that during the midst of I go back to the Zack Ryder versus Dolph Ziggler feud that they had over, what was that, the IC title, US title?
U.S.
They were interchangeable at the time.
Still are.
Yeah. You knew those guys were friends. You saw it all the time on Twitter, or you saw it on the YouTube show, Long Island IC, whatever. Now Zack Ryder and Cody Rhodes are friends, different promotions, but you follow your favorites on social media, behind the curtain, you know what's going on. But I think that's part of what's being used now to tell the story of kayfabe. We have that illusion of being plugged in. We think we know what's going on. One of the examples that I came up with is Vince McMahon himself. I think we got so used to the Mr. McMahon character and the rumors, the legendary tales of Vince and how crazy he is, or whatever, that we think that we know exactly what he's thinking all the time. Mm-hmm. None of us have ever met him. None of us know what goes on, in his office, or what goes on in Gorilla. We see him in Gorilla when Roman gets pissed at Brock and walks back and yells at Vince, but we don't really know what's going on. We don't know what he's thinking. But anytime anything big goes on in the WWE, Vince ain't gonna like this, or this is Vince's guy. Vince loves him. We don't know what the fuck Vince is saying.
Another one that we both talked about that Carl hates is the Brock Lesnar situation.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you? I mean, in this era, you have even the most bastard of a heel, like the most dastardly, even, well, maybe not Ciampa, but the most despicable heel that you can think of. Even he gets some cheers. So how do you rally people to universally hate one person? You make a part-time champ and you make them dominant as hell. You give Brock Lesnar the strap and you turn people, like even Carl, you're so disinterested in the universal title. But I would say that even that's part of the kayfabe story. They make you care because everybody wants to see Brock lose that strap. You heard the pop when Angle even just mentioned it. The arena popped for that. Oh, he might strip him.
Let me ask you this about the Brock Lesnar thing. What I think you might catch after people hear this, maybe maybe a detractor to your theory that isn't buying what you're selling necessarily.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: with Brock Lesnar, do you think that? I'm trying to let me word this correctly because I want to make sure I'm sounding. Do you think Brock Lesnar's been champ for a little over a year now? But he's been portrayed as pretty dominant outside of the loss to Goldberg, which he more than made up for at WrestleMania. And when he first came back initially, the very first comeback when he lost to Cena, once he beat Undertaker for the streak, is when you really started seeing Brock become this dominant force, whatever. So let me ask you this. Do you think the story that's being told with Brock as this unbeatable guy to where a point that we're all just sick and tired of his shit and we're just ready for anybody else to have it? Do you personally think that, because a detractor might say this has gone on too long, like they didn't have to maybe necessarily go 3-4 years of this when I feel like I soured on Brock a lot sooner than some. I don't know how quick people soured on Brock, but I feel like it's kind of been going that way anyway. Do you think that it's just too long? And do you think that's the perfect way to do it? Just make this go on for 3, 4 years, however long it's been.
I think that's part of the plan. And I don't know what the plan is. I don't know how they plan to resolve this because it hasn't finished playing out yet.
Sure.
But I do think that was part of it. Drag it out as long as we can. See how far we can stretch this before everyone is united and everyone wants to see him.
Right.
I don't buy into the whole, let's use this to get Roman over or not theory.
No, I don't either.
I don't think it's about Roman at all. I think it's an experiment in kayfabe. How long can we tell this story?
Right. Okay. So with that being said, the person who finally takes that belt off of them, say it is Roman Reigns, and it very well may be. I don't think it's going to be, but let's say that it is. Do you think it's going to work? Do you think they're going to get the desired reaction if it's Roman? They could get the desired reaction from other people, I do think.
That's the question. What's the desired reaction?
Yeah. Well, I know, but I mean, if you do you think, okay, then forget that. Do you think that he will be actually cheered? Is that going to be a thing, or is this match going to get shit on all over again like it did at WrestleMania 34?
Honestly, I don't have that answer. I think we shit on everything now, so there's a good chance it's going to get shit on. There's a good chance it's not going to get shit on.
Right.
I think in the moment when it happens, there will be an initial pop, but it depends on the story and who they choose to actually take it off, whether it's a sustained thing. If it's Roman, I think it'll matter in the moment, and then everyone will be back to hating Roman the next night on Raw.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, that's kind of the way I would see it too. But yeah.
I want to say something about Brock just real quick. That relates to what Rob is saying. So you asked, has it gone on too long? Well, the reason it's so noticeable now is because he's so audibly doesn't give a shit about coming now. But
Right.
I'm going back to I think we all, like you said, we all say when he beat Undertaker at WrestleMania 30 is like the start of the run, right?
Yeah.
Since then, he fought Cena at SummerSlam 14, and then he fought Cena again at Night of Champions, fought Cena and Rollins at Royal Rumble, fought Roman at 31 when Rollins cashed in, fought Kofi at the Beast of the East in July of 2015. And then Battleground, he also fought in July. He fought Rollins. He fought Taker at SummerSlam. He fought Big Show at the Madison Square Garden special. These are all televised. He fought Taker at Hell in a Cell. And then he was in the Royal Rumble in 2016. He fought Roman and Ambrose in Triple Threat at Fastlane. Roadblock, he fought Bray and Luke Harper. Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper. 32, he fought Ambrose. You see where I'm going with this? Uh, he fought Orton at SummerSlam. Remember, he fought a UFC fight in between WrestleMania and SummerSlam, which is why there's a big stretch there. He fought Goldberg at Survivor Series. Uh, he was in the Royal Rumble again in 2017. He fought Goldberg again at WrestleMania 33. Great Balls of Fire that year. Last year. He fought Samoa Joe. Then he fought Strowman, Roman, and Joe. SummerSlam, Braun at No Mercy. AJ Styles at Survivor Series. Braun and Kane at the Royal Rumble, and then Mania, and then the Greatest Royal Rumble. Every other year he's fought significantly more. This year he hasn't fought at all, which is why it bothers us so much. But all the other times, he's fought. He's wrestled consistently, and not only consistently, but largely concerning like talking about his pay-per-view matches, they've been decently competitive, right? So, but now, yeah, go back and watch these matches. They're decent. They're very competitive. So much more competitive than we expect a Brock Lesnar match to be. So
Well, I
now,
think
go ahead.
part of that, though, not to cut you off, but there are some matches there where you're getting triple threats and you're getting fatal four ways, right? A couple of them, not all of them, but a couple of them there where it's it's competitive because there's 4 fucking guys. You know, like I mean, you got like Brock as he is, as Broccoli as Brock is. He still
Broccoli.
has to work a little bit to put away 4 guys. You know what I'm saying?
That's cute.
SummerSlam especially was competitive because Braun put him through a table and then threw the fucking thing on top of him.
Oh, the match was
And
great
Braun
because
was
he was
out.
gone. Yeah.
Right. So, but I'm not shitting. I wouldn't. And consistently I feel like we're using that a little loosely because I mean, Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns wrestle consistently. Like, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
So let me change my word. What I mean is consistently for Brock. What I mean is
Okay.
you could
Yeah, that's
expect
fair.
you could expect 8 matches a year from Brock before, right? 8 to 10
Right.
matches a
Yeah.
year. We might get 4.
Yeah. Usually at the big shows, typically, and then
Right.
maybe a pay-per-view thrown in the middle there somewhere, like Great Balls of Fire, No Mercy.
Exactly. Which is why we're so angry. We're so angry because he don't, at least even then, in other years, he would show up on Raw just to show up. Got a
Right. Yeah.
promo and
Let me
leave.
back. Let me take it back to what you said in the beginning before you listed all those matches, Rance. You said Brock doesn't give a shit. Does he? Does he not? Or is
We
that
don't
part of the story?
we don't know. But we've been taught. And your point is so 100% valid, even more because of what happened on Raw, not this past week, but the week before,
2 weeks ago.
when he actually talked about the stuff we all say. I don't give a shit about the
Yeah.
show. Why would I watch Raw? You know, you don't think that that was written specifically because that's what fans think? You're
Oh, absolutely.
absolutely right.
Yeah. They're
I know
doing a
a
lot
lot
of
of
that.
people could. Yeah, I know a lot of people could say that's just WWE jumping on, what the obvious story in front of them, thinking that they stumbled onto it. But I think that's all part of the plan. That's part of the long-term storytelling that they're doing with Brock.
Stop right there. Because you point on something now that I try to talk about all the time, but I really want to point on it now since that's what we're talking about. This idea that things happen organically in wrestling is the most laughable thing I've ever seen from fans. Everything is scripted. Everything happens for a reason. Everything is planned. Even the great matches that you see, a lot of the times they knew it was going to be a great match beforehand. I don't think I've ever seen a match that the backstage people planned to be not good and ended up being great. They know what they're getting. So Daniel Bryan didn't get over organically. They put him in situations to get over. CM Punk didn't get over organically. They put him in situations to get over. Like all these things happen. So you said it perfectly. You said just perfectly just now. Like everything they wanted to happen happens. You think that people talk about the pipe bomb? Pipe bomb. Well, he said what he wanted to say. They told him he could say it.
Oh yeah. I'm still surprised people think that wasn't. He was given some. I'm sure he was given a little bit of like, ugh, but not like to the point where it's. Oh yeah, like he's just out there mentioning Colt Cabana and Ring of Honor and New Japan because he can.
The greatest feud in WWE history isn't Hogan Andre or Rock Austin or Austin McMahon or Triple H and no, the greatest feud in wrestling history is the fans versus the backstage. Greatest feud in
Yeah,
history. But I say that because the fans think they know so much. We really don't.
I
We
think
could,
the best example of that is the B plus player story with Daniel Bryan. Um,
don't get me started on that.
well, I want to go there.
Let's
I
go.
want to look back at that
Let's go.
because I think that's the best example. His whole run, that whole thing was built on a foundation that everyone believed that what was being said on camera was the prevalent thought backstage as well. Everyone thought that WWE management really looked at Daniel Bryan as a B plus player. That's what got us also emotionally invested in that storyline. That we felt every victory and we felt like we were making a difference. One of the oldest things in wrestling is a babyface getting the crowd involved. Whether it's that rest hold right before
The hope
they
spot.
hulk up,
The hope spot.
the Hulk spot, or
Hope spot.
the hope spot in yes. See, there's my fan showing through. or the in a tag team match, right before the hot tag, when the guy that's on the outside is slapping the post and getting the crowd to chant. That's one of the key things that we use to tell the story of kayfabe, to get us involved, to get us invested. And I think that was so well done in the Daniel Bryan storyline. We were all invested. We thought, the Occupy Raw, we're changing things, we're hijacking this crowd to get Daniel Bryan inserted where we wanted. It was all part of the story.
Am I
So
the only one who didn't love Daniel Bryan while all that was
Yes,
going
you
on?
are.
Okay, I'm just double checking because I just never was into that much.
I like Daniel Bryan, but I am, I told you earlier, I'm a petty motherfucker. So I'm I'm open arms about it. So the I've always enjoyed Daniel Bryan, but his fans make me not want to like him.
Well, I would consider myself a pretty large Daniel Bryan fan.
Yeah, but you're not one of those fans that think that Daniel Bryan is the be all end all of wrestling. You like him, he's
No.
good, and he's just another guy.
Well,
He's
in
one of your
that, then it
favorites, but
sounds like Rance is getting worked a little bit because the greatest feud is the fans versus the
okay,
backstage.
but we
You're getting worked by the fans, right?
you and I have done this for 6+ years. I've done this for 8. You guys know me well enough to know that nothing works me more than fans.
Yeah, that's true.
Nothing works me more than fans. By the way, so Daniel won the titles at 30, right?
Yeah.
29, he wrestled in a tag match, right? With Hell No. What did he do at WrestleMania 28?
Is that the Sheamus match?
Yeah, he walked into WrestleMania as a world champion. I'm just saying, like,
Yep.
don't forget the dude has like
That's my favorite. That's my favorite Daniel Bryan match, by the way. WrestleMania match, at least. Sheamus just rocks his ass. And what was it, 20 seconds or something like that?
at Outsider Curvin.
Hey, let me have it. I don't give a shit. Let's go.
This kayfabe topic can go on forever. I love talking the idea of a new kayfabe, if you will. But I liken kayfabe to magic. In that Penn and Teller, Penn Jillette, he always says that when magicians tell you uh, to look closely, and to look here because stuff is happening on the outside or whatever. But he'll always tell you that when we tell you to look at something, that's because we're gonna tell what you think is going on is absolutely the opposite of it. And that's almost kayfabe. That's in a sense because we've been conditioned, the new kayfabe. We've been conditioned to think certain things. We've been conditioned to think like it's almost Pavlovian that that if if a let's talk women for a second. If a blonde woman is a champion, she can't wrestle. That's what people are saying. People aren't saying that Alexa and Carmella just in general. They're saying the blondes, right? So like there's so many things that we've been conditioned to think or conditioned ourselves to think. Let me give you a better example. Let me give you another example. Let's talk Roman Reigns real quick. Before,
Yay.
right? But we're not gonna talk like go into it. But before Roman Reigns won the Elimination Chamber match, from WrestleMania 33 when he beat the Undertaker to Elimination Chamber, had anything on TV once shown that Roman Reigns was gonna go to WrestleMania and win and wrestle Brock Lesnar? Had anything? Be
Not really.
honest,
He was a loser for 9, 10 months, really.
Rob.
No, I'm with Carl.
So why was the prevailing theory among every IWC fan that well Roman's just gonna go to WrestleMania 34? That's what's gonna happen anyway. He's gonna do this. He's gonna win the Rumble. Well, no, he didn't win the Rumble. Well, he's gonna win the Elimination Chamber. But the whole entire year, well, he's gonna win the title. Well, he didn't win the title. Well, he's gonna beat Brock at SummerSlam. He's gonna win that match. Well, he took the fall. Well, he's gonna do this. Well, no, he lost that. Well, no, he's gonna do this. Well, no, he didn't do that. So but again, we've convinced ourselves that Roman always wins. But I did the math. I did a column on it. Roman it's been pushed less than Seth Rollins since his Shield split.
Well, we could trace it back to really people like that hack Dave Meltzer and Alvarez and those guys because they perpetuate this shit. They do. Like if you are anti Roman Reigns, you can be anti Roman Reigns. That's fine. I don't care.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm not in love with Roman. I like him. He's not my favorite or anything. But you can dislike Roman Reigns. But it gets to a point where like it's just like anything else, right? It's like the regular news. If you feel a certain way about something and you hear it, it's your own personal echo chamber. You just latch onto that, and so that's it now. That's what it is. That's what it always has to be. And it's the same thing with Roman Reigns. If enough people tell you that he wins all the time, you have a selective memory about those. Like when he loses, you're like, he didn't fucking lose. He wins all the time. Well, no, you just are kind of told that. And even if you aren't told specifically that, you're told things. Like Meltzer was the first one to tell people that it's going to be Brock and Roman at WrestleMania 34. He was the first one to say that shit.
This happened before WrestleMania 33 happened. He had already said that before WrestleMania.
And yes, it did happen. The match happened, but the result wasn't the way that he thought it was going to be. Plans changed, of course, but you know what I'm saying. Like the shit gets perpetuated by people that have more followings than people like you and me and Rob. You know what I mean? That's part of the problem.
I think Uncle Dave is an example of the modern kayfabe in himself. What is he famous for? Supposedly getting insider information and sharing it out. Where is that information coming from? Do you think a company in an industry, the number one company in an industry built on smoke and mirrors, has such a leaky faucet that all of this information is just getting out? Or is it being put out on purpose?
I'll do you one better. I'll do one better. Nobody's ever gotten fired for leaking information?
Right. JBL has come out, and no matter we all hate JBL, that's fine, but he's come out and said that they love giving Meltzer information because he was easy to play, right? He's come out and said that shit. So, I mean, wherever you stand, there are other journalists out there. I'm not going to sit around and start name dropping people who get access to scripts or get access to this, that, and the other, but I've seen errors in the shit that they say. There was one week recently where journalists said that Sasha and Bayley had more going on tonight than the first segment or the second segment they did, and then nothing ever happened. So, you know, these things happen. We're not like, they give us pieces. It's almost like running a tread. If you're a fat guy on a treadmill and someone's dangling the Twinkie in front of you, you're just trying to, that's what you're hanging from your head. You're just trying to get it. It's like that. They give us bits and pieces. They don't give us the full story, but they do give us some stuff. I do think, not everything, but some things, which is probably part of the plan that, you know, Rob has alluded to here, I think.
How can you give scoops on a business where one person makes every decision?
Yeah, well, I do, but see, here's what I would say. I think wrestling journalism would taper off into nothingness if every single piece of information you were given was a lie. If I was a journalist and I was on the inside, right, and people and WWE was giving me information, and I was posting this shit on my website, and every single thing came out to be false, nobody would go to my website anymore.
I disagree.
So they do give him some. I mean, maybe some people, but I think they give him pieces. You know, that way they can keep them coming back for more. It's just like anything else.
Let me tell you why I disagree.
Okay.
We are in the age of propaganda more than it's ever been.
Sure.
Right? I'm serious, and I don't want to make this political, but
no, I don't have to.
It kind of goes hand in hand. We are in an age where if you already believe something, you're going to read something, even if it's absolutely false, that makes you feel like it's what you believe. Breitbart, right? So nothing against those people that read Breitbart, but most of the stuff on there isn't true. It's just, but it's factual.
Are you sure?
Well, I mean, you know, you are in Arkansas, so God bless you.
Okay, Texas.
I think you can go a little bit deeper than that too, and it's not just about, you know, the propaganda machine. It's that I think we as fans are so desperate to feel like we're involved in the product, so desperate to feel a part of it, that we latch onto these guys and we label ourselves, oh, I'm a Meltzer guy, I'm a Rants guy. That's how we connect.
That's the next shirt.
Yeah, I'd wear it.
I say next like we already got one.
Yeah, it's coming soon.
So right after that column.
That's right. Big news at the end of the show about it. Don't you worry.
You're spot on, man. You're spot on though. Like we are so desperate to know. You're damn right. Absolutely. You we're 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 gonna kind of shift to something else, but this is kind of like a precursor to that. But if you read the transcripts of the CM Punk Dr. Man trial, CM Punk broke down how Royal Rumble was created, how Royal Rumble is created, right? All of us in here are 30 plus, all three of us, right? I've never, and I'm a guy who has spent most of my days either talking wrestling, thinking about wrestling, or reading about wrestling in some form or fashion. Books, dirt sheets, anything, right? I've joined numerous forums, I've written hundreds of columns, I've done dozens of podcasts, all of this. I never knew that. So that moment stopped and showed me that, well, damn, Ranch, you think you know everything about wrestling, but you don't even know how Royal Rumble's done, right? Like, for example, we think that the company tells them who's going to be eliminated and where. No, they pick how they want to be eliminated. They do that on their own. Like these little things that we didn't know just kind of show you in a small microcosm how little that we really know.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, okay. Before we move on, Rob, I told you I would give you the floor. It's all yours, man. Any other issues you got? Anything you want to talk about? Anything on your mind?
So I just glanced over at my notepad to write a note to myself to read those transcripts, and I realized we've covered everything I had written down. So, no.
Well, okay. Speaking of transcripts, so uh, this is a
Rance is so
segment.
happy. I wish you guys could see the look on his face right now. He's so happy. Go ahead,
I
though.
can.
Look,
Yeah.
right?
Not you, everyone else that's going to hear this. It looks like it's-
So nothing makes a human being feel better than when they can say, "I told you so." So, before I go into it, let me tell you guys what's happened. So, speaking of the CM Punk Chris Amann trial, uh, CM Punk and Colt Cabana won. They won the defamation lawsuit. Uh, apparently, Cabana and Punk had an agreement where Punk would pay for his, if not all of his medical bills, half of it. And it's only right, seeing as the only reason Cabana was involved was because it was Punk, right? Punk did his best friend a favor, put him on the show, letting him air his grievances. He had no idea this was going to happen. Punk wanted to fight, all this stuff, and Cabana just drug into it because it was his show.
And I'd say Punk probably had a fair bit more money than Cabana.
A couple of dollars more, I would think.
unless he squandered it all like an idiot, but I doubt it.
Punk is definitely a miser. I feel like he's like Scrooge McDuck, that
Well,
he's
he's also
shining.
got an extremely successful wife that was bringing in money too, even post wrestling with her book and everything like
All
that.
due
So
respect to AJ, AJ can't make in AJ hasn't made no career what Punk probably made in a year.
no, probably not. But I
And
mean,
that's no diss.
I'm saying it's an
That's no
extra bit of money
sure. And for
for someone.
those listening, that was not meant as a diss to AJ. That's just to show how much Punk was making at the height of his career.
Yeah. Plus with the UFC fights and all that shit. I mean,
Yeah,
come
getting paid to take punches for a couple. Okay, stop, Rand.
Yeah.
Um,
on.
He's writing for Marvel now, too.
he's been writing for Marvel and
Yeah,
Drax,
that's right.
and
Yeah.
nobody reads the Drax comics. So, oh,
I don't even know
damn.
what he writes until
Well,
you just said it, so
I
we're
shouldn't have
good.
said that out loud either. My bad. Um, look. So, okay, I'm not a fan of. I like CM Punk the wrestler. I'm not a fan of Phil Brooks, but this situation, 100%. So, I'm open up to you guys, but I always believed that the doctor was right in the trial for one reason only. Punk, even on the stand, admitted that he exaggerated about a lot of the shit he said on the podcast. He admitted that some of the stuff he said was not true, or he remembered wrong. Openly admitted that. The reason the doctor lost is because he had some shitty ass lawyers, and because he couldn't prove that what they said affected his job. Okay, but with Cabana suing his best friend, the guy who he had to sit there all day and deal with all this. Cabana was missing out uh on jobs. He couldn't work. He couldn't go work because he had to sit in a courtroom for days and all this. Um, but it tells me two things. Number one, we all know Punk is a shitty friend. But number two, Cabana lied for Punk. I think Cabana lied on stand for Punk.
Why do you say that?
Because why would Cabana be so mad that Punk didn't pay his bill if Cabana didn't do him a solid?
Because the bill was $500,000.
I get that, but here's the thing: win or lose, Cabana knew he was going to have to pay something eventually, right?
Well, to be fair, I don't know that much about the trial. It was not a point of interest for me, so I didn't keep up with it other than the outcome. I did see the news when it came out today about Cabana saying that Punk essentially stiffed him, but from the account that I read, it was that Punk repeatedly told him, "Don't worry about the legal fees. I got you. I got it covered. I'll cover the whole thing."
Sure.
So if that was what he believed, whether he lied or not, which I'll work under the assumption that Cabana didn't commit perjury.
Sure.
I'd be mad as hell over a $500,000 bill when somebody said, "I got you. Don't worry about it."
I would too. But you just said, Cabana, I covered the trial every day on another show that, yeah. I covered it every day in depth. Cabana spoke at length about how draining that trial was, about how horrible it was, how it affected him physically. Why would you go right back to court again? This is your best friend, right? You can't work it out?
Well, I mean, here's the thing though. They are best friends. Well,
Not
I feel
anymore.
like they had a falling out before that, but
They did
regardless,
have a falling out. And by the way,
but
to give some context, the falling out was because Cabana went to WWE, like to a backstage WWE, see some friends and like do an interview.
oh, okay. Well, see, what I was thinking though is like, sure, these guys like Punk's got a lot of money. I don't know how much Colt Cabana's worth. I couldn't tell you how much he could afford for legal fees, whatever. But I like Rob would work under the same assumption that he didn't commit any kind of perjury. It's just $500,000. I mean, period. Like anybody, and I don't know anybody who wouldn't be pissed over 500 grand, including rich guys, because they're all greedy as shit. So of course they'd be mad. So I kind of work under just that's the problem here. But my question is, forgetting all that for a second, if this was CM Punk just saying, "Hey man, I got you," and there's no written, verbal, audio, anything, I don't think Cabana has anything to stand on in court.
There's a text message.
There's a text. Okay, all right. Well, then if that is something, if that exists, like I guess he says it exists, right? I mean, because we haven't seen it yet, surely.
No.
So if it exists, then that's it, right? I mean, if he doesn't have anything, that's going to be a bitch for him. He's going to be tough. He's not going to get anything out of it.
Let me tell you why I think he lied, because that is a huge accusation, and I truly enjoy Colt Cabana's work. I think he's a really cool dude. I have no ill will towards the guy whatsoever. So I'm not saying this from a place of malice. I'm saying this for these reasons. Number one, it's been proven Punk lied. This isn't my opinion. It's been proven that there were aspects of that podcast, huge aspects of that podcast, that he lied about. It's proven. Number one. Number two, Colt had every chance. Colt didn't have to take that to court. He could have settled. Him and Punk went to court because they quote unquote believed they were innocent. So they wanted to fight it through every extent of the law. If you're gonna do that, you know these court fees are gonna cost a shit ton of money. So you're openly allowing yourself to say, hey, I could keep my money and just deal with this and just settle this, or I'm gonna spend $500,000 and go do this. And before the trial, they weren't talking. So you want me to believe that you went to court knowing you were gonna have to spend all this money on legal fees, not talking to the guy that you could get to loan the money, and you were cool with it then, but all of a sudden now you're not?
Yeah.
It feels personal. It feels like Cabana. I looked out for you, Punk. You're supposed to look back out for me. You didn't, so I need to get what's mine. That's what it feels like.
And it very well could be. I just, because that case is open and shut essentially at this point, regardless of whether Colt lied, I think it just speaks more to the fact that I don't know what Colt did. I won't venture out to say.
Hmm.
I don't want to jump. I don't want to talk about that too much. But I would say is it just goes to show, and I think most of us listening, except for the hardcore CM Punk truthers out there,
Punk
know
truth.
that Phil Brooks is a fucking dick. Like he's always shown that he is a dickhead. And I'd be the first to tell you, I love CM Punk as the WWE superstar. I mean, the dude cut amazing promos. He had amazing matches. CM Punk is the man in the wrestling ring. But outside of a wrestling ring, including going into the octagon, CM Punk sucks. Like, and that's just bottom line about. I mean, he's never once. He's an asshole to people, and he has no remorse about those things. And that's fine. Some people are that way, but they're talking about big time. This is shitty. Like, there's no way around it. If you are a CM Punk fan and you don't find this shitty, you are. I mean, something's wrong. Something's wrong with you guys. Like, I'm just letting you know if you're out there listening.
They don't find it shitty.
But just imagine if someone screwed you out of just 10% of that, because most of us listening to this don't even make 10% of the amount of money. You know what I mean? Just imagine. So
Yeah, but you have to understand, man, and Rob can speak to this better than any of us because again, he's the fan. We're all fans, but you know what I mean. We look at these guys at their the song Cult of Personality is true because we look at these guys as such biblical esque figures. These people that we look up to or that we fan like. This is a complete different tangent, but you'll understand what I'm saying. The biggest mall in the city of Houston is called the Galleria. I was in the mall one time, and Kim Kardashian was in the mall, and they literally shut that bitch down just because she walked down the fucking aisle. People lost their shit, right? Look at all the fans of people who have killed people or raped people or done unspeakable beat people, unspeakable things, and their fans still don't care. It's because they compartmentalize the bad because the good brings them so much joy, happiness, or whatever it is. So you have a guy like Punk who has made every bad decision since he's left WWE. He's happy, good for him. He's healthy, good for him. But he's made a lot of bad decisions and done some really shitty things to people. The way he fucked over Hornswoggle pisses me off to this day. This is
right.
unnecessary because the dude asked you for a guy's number. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But y'all rode together almost every day? Nah, bruh. The way he did Graves, you held this dude's. You were there when his kid was born, but you told him I can't talk to you because you work for this company.
And that's the problem, though, that people don't want to, maybe not want to, but just consciously refuse to separate the guy you see on the screen versus the guy outside. So, like, we all, if you're a golf fan, I don't know if you really are, Rance, but I know Rob likes golf and watches golf. If you're a Tiger Woods fan, right? Tiger Woods, man, he's an asshole. Like everything he's ever shown, even like he just is. I mean, he cheated on his wife, he did a bunch of other stuff. Forget all that, right? When he's on the golf course, we forget about all that shit. But as soon as it's over, we're like, oh yeah, Tiger Woods, yeah, he's still kind of a dick. Like we can admit that. And I think that's a problem when you get people that can't separate the two. It's almost like they see CM Punk and Phil Brooks as just the same guy, which is weird to me because we're literally, as wrestling fans, we are conditioned to know that these guys play characters or versions of themselves. That doesn't mean that when they go home at night, they aren't cheating on their wife or, they're not angels outside of the wrestling ring. And that's the biggest problem is nobody wants to separate the two things. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of where we're at here, where with CM Punk, the people are going to continue to defend him are the out of touch people. So I don't know. Like, it's just one of those deals. What do you think, Rob? What do you think about that? You think
I can give you a little bit of perspective on this. and I don't know whether it's good perspective or bad perspective. That's for you to decide.
That's
But
fair. Yeah.
one of my favorite wrestlers growing up was Sergeant Slaughter. I love
Okay.
Sergeant Slaughter because I thought the Cobra Clutch was a badass finishing move. And
And
when
it
I was
is.
done watching him on WWF Superstars on Saturday morning, I could flip the channel over and see him on G.I. Joe. Same guy. He was
Right.
on wrestling. He was on G.I. Joe.
Right.
A couple of years back, I got the chance to meet the guy. It was in an unexpected situation. I was living in Huntington, West Virginia at the time. I had a shit job in retail, working at the Barbersville Mall. And who was walking in front of my store one day? It was Sergeant Slaughter. There's no mistaking that chin. You see it coming before you see anything else.
The chinny
So
chin chin, as DX would say back in the late 90s.
Exactly. So I gathered myself together and went up and spoke to him and didn't want to interrupt him, but he was just walking around by himself, and I said, "Hey Sarge, big fan. The typical line if I ever fortunate enough to meet a wrestler is thank you for everything that you did for our amusement. I appreciate it." And he looked at me and he grunted and he walked off.
Oh, yeah.
But like it was literally like, get out of my face, maggot, is what I took it as.
Right. Yeah.
It wasn't a couple weeks after that he was on Raw, and I was so excited to see him again. Even though he was a dick to me and grunted and walked off, I
Right.
was so excited to see him again. The stuff with CM Punk, much like you, I love CM Punk the wrestler, and I dislike Phil Brooks the guy. And I liken that to the Sergeant Slaughter situation, with the exception of it felt personal with Punk when he left, that he went out of his way to speak badly about wrestling and wrestling fans. I took that
Sure.
personal. I didn't take it personal when I met Sergeant. That was just, yeah, he didn't want to talk right then. And then
Yeah.
I was happy to see him again. I probably still would be happy to see Punk if he popped up on Raw randomly.
Yeah,
But
sure.
it felt so much more personal, like he went out of his way to insult wrestling and wrestling fans.
I understand that. And I think that's kind of why you don't want to meet your heroes. Like a lot of people love to do these meet and greets and go meet guys, but in those settings, they got to kind of be nice to some degree, right?
It's part of the persona.
Yeah, I have no interest in any of that shit. Like, you will not see me pay $200 to go meet a wrestler. Not happening. Because if I go meet Roman Reigns, I'm getting Roman Reigns, WWE Roman Reigns. If I see Roman Reigns outside, I don't know how he's going to be. He's probably a nice guy. He could be a dick for all I know. And I just don't want to spend, like, imagine if you spent money to go see this guy, and then you just so happen to run into him in public, and you weren't like a dick or anything, and you were real nice just for a quick second, and he gave you the Sergeant Slaughter treatment. You don't want to ruin that for yourself, I think. So that's part of the problem, I think. But I wish people would just kind of take a step back and say, listen, it's okay to like CM Punk the wrestler. That's fine. Nobody's going to shit on you for that, because he's a very likable guy in the wrestling ring. But outside of it, you don't have to defend every action that he does. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, and right now that whole team is getting shit on. You know what I mean? For the whole national anthem thing. But I'm not going to stop liking the team. I don't have to like the guys that work for him or the owner or whatever. That's just kind of, where I'm at with that. But that's
If I'm gonna spend my money to if I want to spend my money on somebody for their time, I need something more than a handshake and a picture.
absolutely.
I'm just
You're
saying.
taking me to dinner, man. We ain't doing $200 or whatever the hell
Well,
it costs.
you're a cheap date. Dinner?
I know you love Roman Reigns and everything, Rance, but let's calm down.
Hey, you put enough liquor in me, Um, speaking of Roman, uh, Rob, do you keep up with New Japan or anything else outside of WWE?
Keep up with? Yeah, I've been tracking the G1 results. It's like watching baseball box scores. I don't watch every game in the Major League season, but I like to keep up with what's going on. So I keep up with what's going on outside of WWE, but the only thing that I really watch right now is Lucha Underground.
Well, I want to talk about New Japan for just 1 second because Tama Tonga has tried to and actually become one of the biggest talking points in all of wrestling recently. He's after the firing squad after they turn on the rest of the Bullet Club,
Yep.
and they have been absolutely screwing over everybody in the G1. Every match is ending in disqualification or gang beat downs. They beat up the refs. They beat up the young lions. They young, and doing everything. But more specifically, Tama has gone off the fucking rails on Twitter.
Yeah.
He choked a fan who wasn't a plant apparently, was just a real ass fan and choked the shit out of him. And Tom Tama has also gotten um gotten reprimanded for how he's acted on social media. But and I don't know if this is really kayfabe, but now this much I believe is real. The new president of New Japan has banned all cussing and all vulgar language and like bird flipping and stuff like that. So that was a big part of the appeal of New Japan because Japanese people don't know what the fuck we saying. It's the truth. And of course, there is the illustrious Tama Tonga Roman Reigns feud on
Yeah.
Twitter. So hey, give me your opinions on all of that, man. Whatever you got, let me have it.
I was tracking a little bit of the Tamatonga Roman feud on Twitter. There have been clips shared aplenty, and it was nice to see the back and forth between those two,
It was
including
cool to see Roman engage. By the way, it was real cool to see
it
Roman
was
engage.
it was, and what I really liked was seeing Tama using the Roman cock in your fist and then flipping the bird and stuff like that. I was thoroughly entertained, and I would say it honestly made me a little bit more interested because I know Roman, but this made me, Tama Tonga a little bit more. Do I think he took it too far? Maybe. Apparently, didn't he get his actual Twitter account suspended
This is
at one
real.
point?
He really got suspended for
Yeah.
it. This is real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did. He put it on Instagram. He called people snitches or bitches or something for reporting him on Twitter.
Flame as Dorito or flame as Cheeto.
Yeah.
I just think that this is him using the modern platform to get himself a little bit more over. That's the way I see it.
Well, I think he kind of has to, right? I mean, because in a lot of ways, like I've heard a lot of people. I haven't really seen much of his. If really, I couldn't name you any matches I've seen. I don't really watch New Japan or anything, but like from what I understand, he's really not all that great in the ring.
Not true.
So that's the way I've heard it, at least.
Well, everybody in New Japan is wrestling 7, 8, 9, 10-star matches apparently. So if you wrestle a 4-star match, you're average.
Understood.
I mean, I guess one way you could look at it is we know who Tama Tonga is. We're, a little bit more of what I would say the hardcore fan. If you're more of a casual fan or a younger fan, maybe you're following Roman Reigns Twitter because you're plugged in, you're buying the Roman merch, you're a little bit younger. Maybe this is the first time you've heard of New Japan, and the first person you're going to hear about is Tama Tonga because he's engaging with Roman.
Sure.
I think it's a smart move on his part.
Oh, by the way, they're friends, and they're probably cousins.
Yeah.
That you're looking at me like that's racist. It's not racist. Like all the Tongans and Samoans are related in some way, form, or fashion. The only Samoan dude, in fact, the only Polynesian guy I've ever seen in wrestling who's not related to all the rest of the Anois is Samoa Joe. Like the rest of them are all related in some way.
Right. That's why he's the black sheep of the Samoans.
Yeah.
Old Joe.
I will say, this gave me one of my favorite recent wrestling moments with what the fuck was Haku's problem?
Carl doesn't know what that was.
Here's the
That's
thing
not being elite. Yes.
about Tonga, right? Like I said before, I don't know if he's a good wrestler or not. But here's the thing. I don't care. And I've said this before because he is out there making me give a shit about him, not what he's doing in the wrestling ring. He's making me care about him because he's engaging in ways that make you either, as the kind of fan that I am, love him because he's an asshole, or how some fans would take it as, I hate this guy. Like, he's doing what he's supposed to, as Rob said, using the platform to get himself over, and without, he's not even having to wrestle. I can't even tell you any matches of this I've seen, and I like him already.
Well, hold that thought, because Rob talked about the G1. In the G1, which is this super vaunted, amazing tournament with every match is at least 4.5 stars and all this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
Tama hasn't given one fuck. Neither has Fale. and they have just been beating people up,
Yeah,
getting disqualified, and ruining the tournament to some people.
it's
And
amazing.
some new, Carl and I are cut from the same asshole cloth. Uh, but New Japan purists hate it
Right.
because it's taking away from the sanctity of the beauty of the matches and the work rate, which is not true. It actually is true, but it's different. And it's something that Carl and I grew up on enjoying, which is more of that WWE Western style of storytelling. Where do you stand on that? Do you think they're going too far with it from the in-ring standpoint? Do you think that Tom needs to dial it down? Do you think that they should stick with the New Japan style and just tell their stories in the ring? Because outside of Jericho, nobody in New Japan does any of this. Everything is told in ring. You fight in ring, you leave. You fight in ring, you leave. You tell all your stories in a press conference, or if you are friends with Cody and the Bucks on BTE. So, do you think Tom was going too far? What do you think, Rob?
No, I don't think it's too far at all. But I'm not the I'm not the New Japan guy. I like what he's doing. It's making me interested. When I'm scanning the results of the G1 and looking at clips, he's the first one that I'm looking at. I was following his story, and I was following Okada's. Is he
Crazy
breaking or
guy?
not?
Yeah.
Yes, and of course Kenny. Is he ever going to lose? So
Kenny's doing this
I
with a
think it's
broken heel,
great.
by the way.
What's that?
Kenny's undefeated in the no, I'm sorry, he just lost to Ishii. But Kenny was basically undefeated in the G1 with like
He
a broken or severely bruised heel.
he didn't lose. His shoulder came up before 3.
Hey, he didn't get the points. That's all that
Yeah, I
matters.
know.
He didn't get the points.
Well, here's
Um,
kind of an interesting thought about that, right? So New Japan, you really touch on something I want to talk about, Rance. New Japan, their fans are like, okay, we don't want to see anything. We don't want to do anything like this. We don't like this. We're purists. They're like baseball fans, like instant
oh
replay.
God,
They lose their
yeah.
fucking minds, right? That whole thing. So okay, if that's the case, don't turn around later and when you have your problems with WWE, be like they need to change the way they're doing things because that's what they do. They'll talk. They don't want anything to change in their world, and then they'll run over and be like, get onto the Twitter machine and pull their phones out and be like, haha, WWE isn't doing this. They need to book this guy differently. They need to do this differently. They need to do this differently. Like, why is what's good for New Japan not good for WWE and vice versa? Any
Well,
thoughts on that? I mean,
yeah. Go,
Don't they
Rob.
don't
Yeah,
they have a guy that got over for selling DVDs? Isn't that
yeah.
a
I know.
thing?
Yeah, I know. He sells DVDs. He does a stupid ass shrug, and he takes the turnbuckle off and hits people with it, and he rolls them up, and he
Okay.
is over.
So here's the
as he
thing.
should be.
And
It
for the record, behind all that, much like Santino was, he can really go in the ring. That's just his
Yeah.
gimmick.
So that's a WWE thing, right? That's a
Absolutely.
story. And I think you and Kyle mentioned that a couple of weeks back. That was the first I'd heard of him. And you're talking about this idiot that sells DVDs. That's his gimmick. It made me interested. It made me go on YouTube and look up his clips. He's
Yeah.
somebody in New Japan that I care about because of that.
Yeah.
But then again, I did grow up on WWF as well. That's what I like. I like the moments. I like the stories.
It's always fun to me that Yano's tag team partner is Ishii, the toughest, most rugged ass wrestler in the world. And he puts up with it almost feels like he puts up with him because he has to. Uh, but I think it was Rob earlier when you were asking when did when did the split happen from WWE going PG? When did it go? When did that split happen from being TV 14 or more adult oriented?
Yeah, that was
Well,
on the pre-show.
oh, was that okay? So that wasn't on. Okay, well,
No,
yeah.
that was the pre-show.
Okay, you asked me that question. Well, similarly to that, I want to know when did wrestling become to fans become more about work rate than storytelling?
That's a great question. I really wish I knew that. I think it's got to be a younger fan thing. It has to be, right? Because I mean,
Mo-
I mean,
most of the guys. Please continue, but real quick, most of the guys pushing this rhetoric are our age.
not
New
fuck. I
Japan
don't.
fans are not 10, 15, 18. They're 25, 30, 35.
Yeah, I don't. I have no idea because I mean, I feel like I know a lot of people grew up watching. If you're like me, you grew up in the Attitude Era. Some people Rob, you may have watched a little bit. Hell, maybe earlier than I did. Probably like more like early '90s WWF and stuff like that. Um, but we grew up in the storytelling age where I mean that's because the Attitude Era the fucking matches were trash for the most part. A lot of them were. People think the whole Undertaker Mankind Hell in a Cell. That match was fucking garbage because Mankind was dead 5 minutes into it. So
Yeah.
I don't know where they moved to this work rate thing, and I don't know if maybe people just got tired of seeing shitty matches, or maybe they thought the storytelling wasn't living up to their expectations. So we got to focus on something else now to keep ourselves interested. That's one theory. I mean, I don't know.
I I don't have the answer, but I think it lies somewhere in what we mentioned earlier with the fans being so desperate to be a part of the product that this is one of the ways that they're involving themselves.
Good point.
Maybe labeling themselves a Meltzer guy and being so obsessed with star ratings, the match quality. I think that
Right.
maybe had some sort of a turn in it. But for me, I think that we're three of a kind here in this line of thinking, and maybe it is because of the era that we grew up watching with the storytellings. It's the stories and the moments that are what matters to me, and it's honestly maybe it's not a good thing, but that's part of the reason why I don't watch Raw and SmackDown the entire episode every week. WWE does such a great job of putting those moments into 3-minute clips on YouTube within 24 hours of the show being up that I don't have to watch it. It's not required watching anymore. I can
Right.
sit at work. I can sit at my desk at work the next morning with my cup of coffee and get caught up on Raw in a quarter of the time and catch all the important moments on YouTube. No commercials. It's boom. It's done.
I want to get your opinion on something, Rob, since this is kind of like that's the point of the show. Star ratings. Where do you fall on star ratings? Number one, and number two, which is a more serious question. Do you feel that the rise of the star ratings and how important they've become and how much bigger they've gotten has led to to added danger of the business? And in specific, I'm talking about Hiromu and his injury.
Um, Number
And
one, I don't give a shit about star ratings. Some of my favorite matches are some nowhere near the critically acclaimed list. I would put in my top 10 favorite matches of all time. Um, Hogan versus Earthquake from SummerSlam 90 or 91. I can't remember which one it is. It's a
Hogan
10-minute
versus
shit
Earthquake.
match. Yeah, I love both of those guys back in the day, and I love that stupid little story. So star ratings mean nothing to me. It's about the moments and what happened, and I have no idea how to answer your second question.
Well, before I go to Carl, can I tell you one of my favorite matches that's like trash?
Yeah,
Santino Marella and Emma versus Fandango and Summer Rae. Forever will be one of my favorite matches because it was just pure nonsense. Carl, I know you feel about star ratings, but do you think? Okay, so let me add. There's a reason I asked that question. It's not just a random question. Some people on Twitter were tweeting Dave after Hiromu got hurt, saying you played a part in that because a lot of these younger wrestlers or these wrestlers in situations much like Takahashi or and get well soon, Hiromu, uh, are going even. Will Ospreay, Hiromu Takahashi, like these guys go so hard every match, and part of it we feel like, or we're assuming, is because they want the accolades that come with saying I had a 5-star match, I had a 5.5-star match. Kenny Omega damn near kills himself every match. I had a such and such match. Do you think that they are correlated? Because the level of danger, especially in New Japan right now, all over WWE has its part too, but just from a move standpoint, like I saw Ishii, not Ishii, I'm sorry, Ibushi hit Naito with damn like 1916 or Bloody Sunday, whatever, but he dropped him on his fucking head. and it scared the hell out of me. Naito and Hiromu were like best friends. They're both Lij guys. So, just the thought in my mind was like, God, but all of these things they go through. Do you think the level of danger is correlated to the rise of star ratings?
Yes. I think you'd be hard pressed to say it isn't, but I would argue, not argue, I would tell these wrestlers that you don't have to do any of that shit to have a great match.
But they want to though.
Right, I understand that, but what I'm saying is I think it falls more. I think Meltzer, and this is the one time I'm going to defend him just a little bit, I think he's perpetuated it to some degree. But I think that as a professional wrestler, if you are a student of professional wrestling and you go back and watch classic matches, not every great match that was ever put on needed you to be dropped on your head or fucking moonsaulting off a 20-foot ladder or whatever the hell they do. I mean, you could go back, like, think about, and I've never been a big fan of this match, but the story and everything that was involved, Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret Hart from WrestleMania 13. What was the most dangerous? What was the most dangerous?
Not a fan of that match.
Oh, I know. But what was the most dangerous spot in that match when Bret Hart cut Steve open? I mean, they had a brawl, a WWF brawl, a brawl, but it's still a 5-star match to people, and they didn't go out there and do all this crazy, insane shit. They just beat the fuck out of each other for, you know what I mean?
Devil's advocate. Advocate. It's a different time.
Sure.
It's a different era of wrestling. And it's a different era of fandom.
Sure, yeah, you're right about that. I get that. I just don't
And the reason I say that is because if you try, and I am as old school as you are, give me story. The match could be trash. Give me story. But if you throw out Bruno versus Zabisco from '77, you can miss me with all that. I'm going to sleep.
Right. Okay, let me ask you this though. Let's think about this for a second. So Kenny Omega, the guy who's famous for cutting a promo about dropping his star average or whatever the fuck he said. Like,
best bout machine, yes.
Let me ask you this: if who's Kenny Omega need to impress at this point? Anybody? Are any of us unimpressed with Kenny Omega the wrestler? Because I don't think any of us are. But let me ask you this:
he's top 5, if not top 3,
he's outstanding.
If not number 1. Yeah.
But you know who also has a 5-star match that not that many people really cared about for a while? I'm not saying he's not relevant or wasn't popular in Mexico. Andrade Almas, right?
Yep.
He has a 5-star match under his belt with Johnny Gargano from TakeOver. Now the match was, it was pretty brutal in some ways, but I thought it was worked well, right? But a lot of these guys, they think they have to do this because the star ratings are some kind of accolade. It'll get them noticed. I'm not buying that because that's almost got all. He was in Mexico and now he's in WWE. He got from here to there without having to have any 5-star rated matches by Dave fucking Meltzer. You know what I mean? Like,
Devil's advocate again.
God damn it. Go ahead.
2 things. Number 1, that was the first 5-star match since CM Punk, John Cena in WWE.
Right. Yeah, sure.
New Japan got like 6, 7 of them every year.
Well, good for them.
Right, yeah, right. Number 2, you're speaking of Andrade. Andrade was the top guy in AAA.
Yeah, I know. That's why I mentioned the Mexico thing.
But he left, and Andrade was bombing in NXT.
Sure.
Until he got
he was.
And
was.
I watched every episode of NXT. And don't get me wrong, he was still having great matches, and he had a story that was interesting, but he was bombing. And Zelina came and saved, I won't say saved his career, but my God, took him from here to the top.
But I don't think that 5-star match is the reason that all of a sudden everybody loves him. Like, he was coming around already, right? I mean,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I'm just saying you don't have to have 5-star matches to get noticed. Like, I don't like this. That's the thing I don't like about it.
Kenny didn't. We know Kenny now as the best bout machine and the cleaner and the top guy in New Japan. Don't forget these times when he fought Kushida damn near every night as a junior. They made him a junior, mind you. He was a junior when Finn was over when Finn was over Bullet Club.
Right.
Omega's bigger than Finn, but he was a junior guy.
Yeah. I just want to know if you go and look at every wrestler has different goals and aspirations, but if you're a wrestler trying to get noticed, for me, I would love to go back and say WWE is maybe the big time, right? So how many guys in WWE right now on that roster, prior to WWE or right now, have a 5-star match under their belt? And there's so many guys in that roster that got noticed. They found a way to get signed without having to have these insane, brutal matches. So I would, like I said, I would put part of it on Meltzer, but I would put, for perpetuating it, I would put part of it on the fans for feeling like it matters so much. But I put more of it on the wrestlers for buying into it. Like, you're buying into this crap. Like, you have to do this, and it's bullshit. You know what I mean? You don't have to do any of that.
I think that some of those, if you want to call them indie guys, see that as their ticket to making a name for themselves.
Right.
Tama's using Twitter and being an effective heel, slapping fans to get himself over, and some of them see the star system as their way to get over.
Sounds like they don't have a personality to me.
Well, yeah. Ospreay does a million different flips, and he's noticed. And speaking of the Hiromu injury, the one thing that it gets underreported is that was Dragon Lee's 4th match in like 2 days. So that Phoenix Plex, or whatever you want, I think it's called the Phoenix Plex, whatever you call it. He was just really tired, and that's probably a bigger problem than the danger of the move itself. Is that he was put in a situation, or put himself in a situation rather, to let that happen.
I know about this injury because it was a big deal. What I don't know is what New Japan's injury record for things like this is.
Terrible.
The times that so the times that I have viewed matches from New Japan, it's hard for me to watch. It's difficult because it seems like the risk of danger isn't an illusion. It's not a well-crafted story like we see in WWE. We know that a vertical suplex isn't going to hurt because you can see how they're cradled when they hit the mat. I don't want to see brain busters. I don't want to see pile drivers anymore. I don't want to see a finisher parade and people getting, suplexed and power bombed on the apron and on the exposed concrete. I don't want to see that. Right. I don't want to see when it stops being the illusion and it starts looking too real, that strong style. That's too much for me. That's why I can't watch it.
There is no move that infuriates me more than Kenny Omega's Snapdragon Suplex. For number one, I just hate that move in general. Number two, it's literally not even. It's not even. It's like it's not a signature. It's not a major move in the match. It's just like something I do. Oh, let me do a Snapdragon on your damn head. Number off the ropes.
Still not as bad as the rebound clothesline from Dean Ambrose. I'll go to my grave.
No, that is or the what's the one
Sling shot
does?
The what?
Yeah. The slingshot clothesline. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Or what's the thing that Sami Zayn does outside when he jumps on the apron and does the moonsault? But it takes like 15 seconds.
Oh, the barricade moonsault. Fuck that move. That's another move. Like, they just stand there like, yeah, all right, okay, come on, you're almost there. Yeah, all right, catch you. Fuck that move. Hate it.
Speaking of the New Japan guys, though, Katsuyori Shibata, the wrestler, was probably going to be one of the next guys to be getting that huge push. He fought Okada, I think this was 2 years ago now, and he headbutted him. Straight up headbutted, like real ass headbutt, and started bleeding from his hairline.
Yeah, I remember that.
He had a hematoma, and he'll probably never wrestle again. He's training, but he'll probably never wrestle ever again. Hanma had a really bad neck injury. I think Makabe just came back. Like, the neck and head injuries they have are a little more frequent than you'd like. And I understand that if you compare to WWE has more injuries per capita.
They wrestle more.
Number one, they wrestle more, but number two, the injuries aren't deadly injuries like neck and head injuries. Most of them aren't. Their injuries are, I blew my knee out because I wrestled 5 nights in a week. Or I blew my arm out or something like that.
Very rarely do we see the head stuff anymore, yeah.
Yeah, and when we do see it and it has an impact, WWE pretty much takes that away. I'd say the inverted pile driver, other than the tombstone, went away after Stone Cold's injury.
I'll do you one better. When's the last time you seen Samoa Joe use the Muscle Buster?
Yeah, probably since he
doesn't use it. They banned it after Tyson Kidd got hurt.
Yep.
Right? And
they seem to care more about their superstars. At least it's the Benoit thing in a lot of ways. You know, that still has a lasting effect. Nobody that's our age will ever forget what we know about the Chris Benoit saga,
Yeah.
right? And so WWE knows that too. They're not going to risk these head injuries for the sake of what, an extra half a star from the hack? Like, who cares?
Which is why Daniel Bryan, I think personally, would be stupid to leave WWE for a number of reasons. His wife still works there, Total Divas, Total Bellas, but more than anything, they cared about you at a point where they didn't have to. You know?
Let's bring it full circle. Daniel
Okay.
Bryan's contract issue is
Mhm.
part of the kayfabe story.
Oh, break that down for me. I ain't
No,
heard that one.
it's as simple as it is. Do we really know what's going on with Daniel Bryan and his contract? Maybe
Technically, I
it.
guess not.
I'm not doubting that it's not up for renewal, but is his hesitation, as we see it, is his reluctance to sign, is that real, or is that just part of the storyline? Because now that's been interjected into the Miz feud as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
Ooh,
absolutely.
ooh, that's good. I didn't think about it like that. That's good. That's real good. Ooh.
And it's gonna, boy, a lot of people are gonna be upset when he signs on that dotted line for millions.
Well,
Because
look,
that is happening. I'm telling you right now, you can write it down. I
Yeah,
don't care what notepad you want to put it in. Daniel Bryan ain't going anywhere.
there's
So
no
forget
chance he
it. New
leaves.
Japan can forget about it. Ring of Honor, you guys can forget about it. He's staying in WWE.
they offered the dude $1 million downside to come to SmackDown and pretend to be a general manager. You know how many wrestlers on that roster who wrestle every week don't make $1 million upside?
Yeah.
Just saying, they value the dude.
He's,
Um,
he's a B plus player though, so yeah.
yeah. But I'm the idiot who believes that everything about that was planned. Even uh him losing the title, the feud with Bray, all that was planned, and it's just the greatest. It's the greatest long con of all time. I feel like that storyline is the Lawler Kaufman of our time. I really believe that
I don't know.
because
I mean, I have my hesitations about maybe every little detail. Like, I know, Ranch, you're very thorough, and you will go through every little piece and be like, see, it's all one big connect the dot game or whatever.
I'm the nerd of the group. Yes.
Right, and that's okay, and I think it's great that you feel that way, because I mean, I think it brings a different perspective that you don't usually get to hear. People online are like, oh, he just did it all himself, and I always am one of those, like, it falls in the middle a little bit. I think there's a lot of, I do think it's not, the WWE isn't perfect. I think they make missteps along the way and kind of have to go back over it a little bit. It's kind of like with Whiteout, you know what I mean? At times, but I don't think this was some, like, the fans made it happen. No,
Oh hell
you're
no.
not selling me on that shit. I can promise you that. But you can sell me on some other things that this maybe not have been the plan per se, but if something worked out a certain way, then you go with it. You know what I mean?
The two things that were not planned, I believe, was they did not expect Batista to not get over, and they didn't expect Punk to leave.
That threw a wrench in it for sure. Yeah, the Punk thing, and then
Yes.
of course
Yeah.
I think they thought the Batista thing was going to work as well. It's a damn shame it didn't, by the way. But yeah,
So you want to talk some Ronda Rousey?
let's do it.
Yeah.
So, Ronda, unlike her other UFC champion, uh, co-worker, decides to show up to work and wrestle. Um,
Let's not give her too much credit now. I mean,
Ronda,
remember,
okay,
she was going to be a full time performer, and she signed in February, and she just now wrestled her first Raw match 6 months later. So,
okay, but hold on. Outside of the month she was suspended, right? And maybe 3 other weeks when she had other engagements, Ronda's been on Raw every week.
Rance, I just lost you on all of that. Just so
Yeah, I
you
did
know.
as well.
Oh, y'all didn't hear anything I said?
Yeah, you
You
want to
said
repeat that for us?
you said hold on, and then you froze up.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can edit it
Um,
out. It's all good.
yeah, but I said I was waiting on a response, so I gotta say it again. Um, so yeah, hold on. Outside of the month, Ronda was suspended, quote unquote, and the like 2 or 3 weeks where she had like other engagements for like the movie and Shark Week and stuff like that, Ronda's been on Raw every Monday.
She's been there, yeah.
That's full time. Full time doesn't
Sure.
mean wrestle every week.
No, but I mean, I do think that one wrestling match on Raw in 6 months is they could do better than that. And I
So that
understand she's an attraction. Okay, I'm cool with that. I can live with that. Just like I'm having to live with Brock Lesnar being an attraction, who never wrestles on Raw, by the way. So props to Ronda. You're way better than Brock is. But I would say that if you're going to sell this, Brock is sold as a part timer. Ronda is now being sold as a full timer. I think she should wrestle more than one time in 6 months on Raw. She's wrestled in the house shows. She's wrestled at a couple pay-per-views. So I'm cool with that. I can live with that. She's an attraction, no problems. I would like to see her rest. If you're a full timer, if you're a full timer, you got to weigh, is she a full timer or is she an attraction? You got to kind of weigh it, and I think you need to maybe have her do a little bit more in the ring.
why you
So,
can't be a
but
full time attraction?
I mean, I mean, we talked about this with Shinsuke Nakamura once before, right? That
Good
he.
point. That's a good point. You
So
don't got to say nothing else. Good point. Yes, point conceded. Go ahead.
go ahead, Rob.
I was just gonna say, by your definition of full time, would you consider Ty Dillinger full time?
Ty Dillinger. I would consider. I don't think about Ty Dillinger that much, so I don't. I don't.
Whoa, whoa. Do I need to pull the shirt out?
Pl-
Come on.
Go ahead. It won't change much.
No, but that's a great point because I wanted to make the joke that Ronda's wrestled about as much as the Authors of Pain have, but you got
Sure.
all these people who were there every week. Zack Ryder, Mike Kanellis, God bless him. All these guys are every week, but they don't wrestle on Raw
Yeah,
or
we don't want to see
SmackDown.
them.
So are they not part time? Are they not full time?
They're full time. We just don't want to see them. I mean, we want to see Ronda Rousey.
I
You know,
think
and
they were just taking their time with Ronda. I mean, she's
sure,
been training this whole time. They just wanted to get it right.
she looks great. I'm not mad about it. Let's put it that way. Just if she's looked good in just about every match she's had, which we're about to talk about, by the way. But if she's looked good, then you can ease up on the rope a little bit now. I think.
Sure, but the one thing I don't want them to do with Ronda is I don't ever want Ronda to feel like another person.
Sure. No,
So
I agree with that.
what I mean by that is I don't want Ronda wrestling random ass matches because it's just a random segment ass match
Right.
on Monday. Like all of her matches need to be for a reason. This match with Alicia Fox was for a reason.
Right. I don't want them. In that. That's why I say it's a balance, right? Because I don't want them to. I don't want her to wrestle randomly, but I also don't want her to be treated like she's in the UFC where they fight once every however long. Like I get, because this isn't the UFC as much as some people might like it to be or whatever. But so if they can balance it a certain way, I could live with that. I don't need to see her I don't need to see anybody every week except the big dog. So yeah, exactly. I don't know what I can see, but I'm responding to something else. But yeah. So yeah, I just think that 6 months. I mean, we've seen her a couple times on pay-per-view now. I think we
So
can maybe do a little bit better.
would you have rather had, instead of her continuing the training and getting 3 matches at this point that
Yeah.
were really good? Would you rather have had a bunch of shitty matches leading up to it while she was training essentially on TV?
Rob Daniels is killing it, man.
That's a good point, but
Ooh.
I would argue that this last match she had wasn't very good. Whether that was her fault or Alicia Fox's match, it's pretty shitty.
Well, that's
So
the question. So let's talk about it. The match was not well received for a number of reasons. I don't. I'm not even gonna go on my way to explain the match. Go watch it. But was it Ronda's fault or was it Foxy's fault?
who wants to take that first? Rob, you just thumbs up the match on the camera, so you go
Okay.
ahead. I'm interested to hear your perspective
Yeah.
on that.
I'll jump in. I didn't hate the match, and I didn't think it was shitty at all. It just looked like a couple wrestlers that maybe didn't have the best of chemistry is all. Like they were just a little bit out of sync. I'll tell you what my favorite part of the match was, and it's something that happens very rarely, I think, in WWE. It's when a wrestler gets a move of 3. It happens very rarely. You get the triple Germans from Kurt Angle, and you used to get it from Benoit. You got the three amigos, the triple vertical suplexes from Eddie. Ronda got her move of three. She had the triple deep arm
Judo
drags.
throws. Judo
Yeah, the
throws.
judo throws. It was beautiful. I loved it.
Deep
That's
something.
what made the match for me.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
It made her feel like a bigger deal. Not only the fact that she was main eventing a Raw in her first match, but then they spent the time to give her a signature move.
Right. Yeah. I'm with you on that. I didn't care for the match, but I don't think it's necessarily on either one of them that much because I'm not up and up on the chemistry. Ronda is supposed to look how Ronda looked on Monday. Alicia, yeah, she's a 12-year veteran or whatever the case may be, and she can hit a pretty sweet Northern Light suplex.
That's it.
She's underrated. She's an underrated wrestler, but it's an underrated wrestler stepping into the ring with the baddest woman on the planet. So the match did exactly what it was supposed to. So I want to just say that first. The match is exactly what it should have been. That doesn't always necessarily mean it was good. And I think Rob, you made a good point. That's an underappreciated part. I hadn't considered that the three arm drags or whatever. So yeah, that's a good point. I think most everyone is talking about how they felt the match looked from a aesthetic perspective, I guess, as opposed to because I don't think anybody would say, oh, we expected Alicia Fox to have put on a great showing. I feel like if you were hoping that Alicia was gonna give her the business for a minute, like why? Like Triple H couldn't even do shit against Ronda. So Nia Jax beat the shit out of her a little bit, but that's about it. Like, why would you expect Alicia Fox of all people to do anything? So
I'd say and it's not a criticism of you. It's just you're here and you're who I'm talking to.
right,
If you had a problem with the match, maybe stop being such a critic and just be a
sure,
fan for a little bit.
yeah, I think that's fair, but like I also would say I don't know that we are. I hate to do this sometimes because I also like to be the kind of guy who's like, all right, let's not be a crazy critic about everything. But at the
Yeah,
same time, I also don't want to be the guy who's telling people how to be a fan of wrestling, if that makes
yeah,
sense.
fair enough.
But
So,
but that's why we have a podcast.
well, I understand. Yeah. I mean, I go off on my own things, how people make me feel, but I don't necessarily want to tell them what they should and what they should and shouldn't do.
Right.
But still do it because I'm right, that kind of thing.
Well, well, I'm with Rob that the match. I enjoyed the match, but the match was super sloppy. But here's why it was sloppy. This is why. Because everything Ronda does in the ring is supposed to look real. The
Right.
reason wrestling is fake or scripted is because scripted looks better than real. A real punch thrown doesn't look good. A fake punch looks tremendous.
Right.
So when you see Sami Zayn do those arm drags, or better yet, the guy known for him, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat,
Hmm.
they look amazing. When a bronze medalist in judo in the Olympics throws a chick over her shoulder, it's
Yeah.
not gonna look right.
So here's the question then. I think that's kind of the whole thing here, right? It obviously looks like she's just ragdolling Foxy, and how you
Well, it
feel
doesn't
about
look
it.
like it.
Yeah,
She
right,
was ragdolling
right.
Foxy.
But see, that's the thing though. What we're expecting one thing, we get something a little bit different. So now I think it's a natural inclination when you see it done like that to be a little concerned that she might hurt someone. I think that's fair because, like we said, she's as Rob pointed out, she's training, right? She's still learning, and then at the same time, the guys that do this stuff, they're professionals. So I think you guys, I'm seeing y'all shake your heads, but
Well,
look at it from a regular, from a non from not us. Okay, just think about it from a
I
regular
got you.
person's perspective. Okay, you see things look clean, right? And they look clean. They look how wrestling looks and how you see wrestling all the time. And you're not one of these deep analysts of wrestling. And then all of
Sure.
a sudden, you see Ronda Rousey come in and fling someone around like my kid throws her dolls across the house. There might be I can see why someone might have some concern there.
Let me disagree with that. Let me tell you why. I mean, anything can be. You can make it is a reason for anything. But let me explain to you why that is not valid. Because yes, even the most novice of fans that just know that if you know the bare minimum about wrestling, that wrestling is scripted, a person wins, a person loses, boom, 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 right? Everything about Ronda Rousey, even to the most unintelligent fan of wrestling or MMA, knows that Ronda Rousey does judo.
Mm-hmm.
That's her whole thing, right? So if
Sure.
she can throw somebody in for real with the judo throw, she could do them for fake.
Oh, we would hope so. I mean,
So
but
yeah, we
a
we
lot of
watched
people
Brock
get on these
Lesnar
guys
take
about.
his we watched Brock Lesnar take his elbow and slice a man open twice, and we were like, oh, that's wrestling. But a judo master, a judoka, a black belt, throwing a woman over her shoulder brings concern.
No, I first of all, false. I
Not from
did
you,
not
not from
like the
you.
Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton stuff at all. I was
Well, you
never a
don't like
fan
Brock
of
Lesnar.
that.
You don't like Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, but I mean, no, I didn't like that. Period. I wouldn't want to see anybody do that.
Nope,
I don't watch UFC. I don't care about UFC. I don't
that's
want to
fair.
watch UFC. And I'm not hating on Ronda Rousey because I want to be clear. Until Ronda hurts someone, I'm not going to say she's careless in the ring. I won't do it. You're not going to hear
Oh,
it come from my mouth. But I will
if Ronda,
say,
not
at,
until if,
what's that?
not until if Ronda hurts somebody.
Right, sure, whatever. But what I'm
Until sound
saying,
like it's gonna happen.
well, it could happen. It happens to the best of them. But no, I'm not going to come out here and say that she's dangerous because I don't believe that. But I do. I want to while the rest of us, a lot of us like to shit on the fans, and I like to shit on them too. I still want to at least kind of understand where they're coming from, and I think I
Sure.
can understand that. That's all I'm trying to get at because I defended her the other day with someone who was talking about how sloppy she was, and I was like, you may think it looks sloppy, but until someone gets hurt, you cannot call her dangerous. You cannot do it because she hasn't hurt
Right.
anybody yet.
And I said that I blame Fox. This is why I blame Foxy for
Okay.
looking sloppy. Look at every other person that Ronda's done a judo throw to since she's been in WWE. So that's Steph, that's Mickey, that's Naya, that is Sonya or Mandy, whichever one it was. I don't remember because I know that both of them, and Alexa
Triple H.
and Hunter. When she does it, they sell it better. Foxy sold it shitty. Foxy didn't land on her back like Nia did. Foxy landed on her butt like it didn't mean to happen. That everything Foxy did in that match was off. There is one particular moment where Alexa and Foxy are trying to work in tandem to confuse the ref so that she could beat her up behind the ref's back. It starts. Alexa comes on the ring, on the apron, and grabs ref's attention, and Foxy walks around and just starts doing all this. Go beat up Ronda.
Right.
So then Foxy goes and starts fighting with Natalia on the outside in the ring. And then Alexa has to come around and get the ref's attention again for Foxy to go back in the corner. Foxy was off the whole match.
Sure.
And no distance to her because she's a veteran and she is much underrated, like you said, but she was not prepared for that moment.
That's true, and I think that's a good point because first time she's ever main evented a Raw too.
Well, that's the
Like
first
that
time we
can't.
probably had a
Yep.
match on Raw in forever.
Yeah, good
So,
point.
Singles.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people, I think you make a good point with that as well. I hadn't really considered that, but I also haven't gone back and see. My memory isn't as good, so I don't go back and I can't be like, oh yeah, I remember that amazing arm drag she did to such and such and such and such and such and such. I'll take you at your word. I might go back and watch it. So that's just so you say that, and I'll take you at your word. I don't see why you would lie to me. You better not. So if you say that, hey, everyone else sold it great, and Foxy's just wasn't ready, wasn't prepared, then that's fair too. But it comes across. It's unfortunate for Ronda if that's the case because of how that kind of comes across to someone watching on television.
You say that, but real quick, Rob, real quick. We say all that. That's cool. But the two things that Ronda needed to do that night, she knocked out of the park. She killed that promo afterwards. Amazingly killed that
Yes, she
promo.
did.
But more importantly, the part in the corner after Foxy kicks her and backs up, where she just looks up and has the look like she's gonna murder you with her eyes. Nothing else matters because that's what's gonna be on the promos.
Well, she has it. I think we all know that.
Yeah.
She's got it. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, I was just gonna say maybe it's just a little bit of perspective, and it's just about perspective. You guys are a little bit more plugged in than I am. You like to engage with wrestling fans on Twitter. I tend to run from them because I don't like hot takes and I don't like the banter all that much.
Right.
But I didn't realize people had such a problem, honestly, with the match. I watched it and formed my own opinions, and I had a pleasant experience. I enjoyed the match. I thought Ronda looked like a star, like she should, and I thought she hit a home run for her first main event of Raw like that.
It feels like people want to have a problem with Ronda in general. Like people are looking for reasons not to like her.
Definitely. That's happening
That's
for
what it
sure.
is. Because Ronda's been put in this huge, tremendous position that damn near nobody in history's been put in, and and she's not a wrestling guy or girl, and she didn't wrestle on the indies, and she doesn't have this wrestling background, and she didn't go through NXT, or she didn't do all that. She showed up and then was immediately in a main event of WrestleMania and all this. But the problem is, everything she's done has been great. And not only that in ring and everything she's done has been great, but everything she's done outside the ring has been great. Crying about how great she was there. The story about Roddy Piper's son giving her the jacket. Going on all these talk shows and using wrestling jargon, and they're like, "What the hell does Mark mean?" Or Mark out. And she was like, "Oh, don't worry about it." Like she really is happy, and she's meant for this. So everybody
Oh
wants to
yeah.
find a reason not to like her, but they can't. So every time there's a glimmer of something, people jump on it. Roman example. If Roman were to ever stumble in a promo, it could be the best promo he's ever cut. Stumbles once. Oh, I told you Roman can't talk.
And that's funny because you know who's a king of kind of doing that, but it cuts great promos? The Miz.
Yep.
The Miz stumbles quite often. If you go watch a
Yeah,
promo,
he
All the
he'll
does.
time.
stumble here and there, but he's so into it, right? And people just say, okay, well, he's so into it that he's stumbling on his words a little bit. I do it all the time when I'm into talking to you guys. They're still human beings, so we
Yeah.
have to. That's yeah, you're right about that. They're looking for reasons because
Yeah.
she went a different route than whoever their favorite wrestler. It's the same fucking thing with Alexa Bliss. Everyone hates her, and I get it. Like I get getting tired of her title reigns and stuff. I can understand that, but good
That's not why
lord,
they hate her.
they treat her like she is the worst thing that ever happened to wrestling, and I'm just like, she can cut a promo better than the rest of the roster. What do you expect?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
but you know what? She can't cut a five and a half star match when she's
How many?
bored on a
Who does?
Tuesday after she just had her coffee. Get it right.
That's true.
Let's end it with this as we're speaking to women. Um, I didn't tell you guys we were gonna talk about this, but I'm gonna put you on the spot. I know you guys can't name all 32 women in the Mae Young Classic off the top of your head. And here at the Outsiders Edge plan on doing something of note with about the Mae Young Classic sometime soon. Hopefully before the show, for the debut. If not, definitely before Evolution. But we're gonna do something with it. But with the people that you do know, do you have a prediction for the winner?
Well, I know that you know most of the spoilers at this point. So if this
I
person is
do.
out, please don't make a face, don't say anything, whatever. But I think considering what happened to her last year, I'd like to see Peraza win. My pick would be I can't even think of her name now. The girl from New Japan or from Japan.
There you go, because New Japan doesn't have women's wrestling. That's why
Yeah,
I'm trying to
yeah,
tell
that's
you.
what I. Yeah, you know what I meant. The girl from Japan.
There's three of them. There's three of them, Carl. Which
The
one?
one, Shirai.
Io? Well, you say the one, but like the greatest women's wrestler almost in
Yeah,
Joshi wrestling, Miko Satomura is over
right.
there. So,
Well,
but yes,
that's
Io is probably a
those would
favorite.
be my two. I know a lot of people are big on Tony Storm.
I
Uh,
don't I don't see why Tony would win when she's in NXT UK.
right, yeah. So yeah, I'd like. I mean, I'd like to. That's just me personally. I don't know all the names in it. I know a few of them. I know Madison Rain is in there, but
Ashley Rain.
but she seems like kind of how Serena Deeb was maybe last year. In there, she'll have a good moment. Maybe
More
they'll
than
bring
you
her.
know. More than you know. For
So
those of you who have read spoilers, you know what I'm talking about.
so yeah, that's where I'd be going with that probably.
Robert.
Um, if there's one thing WWE loves, it's a good story, and what better story than the return of a former champ? Uh, I think Caitlyn's gonna. I haven't seen the second day of spoilers, so I think Caitlyn's got a decent shot to go all the way. She's got the experience. She was a Divas champion.
I find it super interesting that she came back from the Mae Young Classic and didn't go back to the main roster. It's super interesting
Absolutely.
to me, right? It's super interesting because I mean they brought Maria and Mike Kanellis back and they didn't put them on NXT. They put them straight on SmackDown. Caitlyn got to go to the Mae Young Classic and maybe she asked for that. I don't know. The Mae Young Classic is a extremely prestigious tournament, so don't get that twisted. NXT
Yeah.
main roster or not, it's if it was held in you know whatever, it's still extremely prestigious. But it's
Let
interesting.
me say I wasn't the biggest Caitlyn fan during her first run, but she looks like $1 million now.
Oh, she looks amazing. She's always been good, but she does look better now.
She
Uh,
looks lethal now.
yes. But I came along on Caitlyn towards the end. You know what? I'm not the biggest fan of this lady, but AJ brought the best out of Caitlyn.
Yeah, they had a great
AJ
feud.
brought the best out of Caitlyn. So I am going to tell you, I'm going to give you who I think will win, who I think should win. I'm going to give you a dark horse.
Well, I didn't know we got 3 picks.
Oh, look, just please, you can give me
No,
32.
go ahead.
You know what? Hey, Rob, you will forever, you could be on the show every week from now on if you could name to me all 32 women in it.
All right, you ready?
I will
don't
name
cheat.
the show. I will name the show the Rob Daniels Show if you can name all 32 on the top of your head.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll see you on the next fan show.
Okay.
That ain't happening.
Okay.
Could have just Googled. Nobody'd ever know.
So who will win? I do believe, and I just part of me conventional wisdom tell me it's not going to happen, but Io Shirai just makes too much sense, right? It just makes too much sense. Who I want to win is who I think is probably the best women's wrestler in the world today. Might be the best one of the 5 best wrestlers, easily man or woman on the Indies. Mia Yim, I think should win. Okay, there's a lady by the name of Lacey Lane. You guys have probably never heard of her.
Nope.
Look out for her because she's signed to WWE and she's gonna be in NXT eventually. But she, I think, can be what Bianca Belair was in the first one.
Hmm.
Make that make that type of impact, and take that and just be on her way to being the next star. So that's a name for you guys to remember because she is tremendous, has a great look. Lacey Lane won a National Women's Championship Division II at Shaw University, so she is truly athletic. Yeah, so we're definitely gonna do something more in depth with this though. So Carl, you got to get on your Twitter machine and do your studying.
God damn it. You know, the best thing we could do is preview it as it's or talk about it as it's happening. Just kind of as they debut because now they're not doing the whole like here it is, bam, right in your face. From what I understand, they're kind of layering it a little bit, staggering it a little bit. So maybe we could kind of
Well,
talk about it as it goes along.
all the NXT tournaments have always been staggered. But the cruiserweight was every week.
Right.
What they do with the Mae Young is it's binge worthy. So they'll release the first 4 episodes in a week. Watch them as you please,
Yeah.
and then the next 4, have at it.
Oh, I
So
gotta watch so much wrestling. I barely watch it as it is. Everyone knows this about me. I just bullshit my way through these podcasts. Come
he
on.
really does.
I do
Like
good
John.
at it too. I convince people somehow. I don't know how.
So yeah, we gotta get out of here, guys. But before we go, Rob, floor is yours, brother. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, man. Thank you so much for having me, you guys. I really appreciate it. I had a blast.
Tell me where to
Plug
find
your
you, man.
plug yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Plug myself. You can find me on Twitter at Rob Ropey. That's ROBRO. Yeah, it's too late. I don't remember how to spell it. Find me on via Carl or Rants. If you got hot takes, send them to Carl. I don't like to debate. I'll probably just block you.
Good call, actually. Yeah, you can find you know me. You can find me at Outsider Kervin, Kervin.
Wait,
No,
we
I'm
got
next.
big news. We got big news from you.
Oh, well, I'm getting there.
Okay.
Yeah, just find
I'm
first.
excited.
Yeah, first find me at Outsider Kervin on Twitter, Kervin. That's where you find me. You won't find me anywhere else. So you get on there, you talk shit to me if you want to. Tell me I'm terrible. That's fine. I don't care. But I always like to engage people. So if people want to talk wrestling, I will. I say I'm a dick, but I'm actually not that terrible. So please don't be afraid to talk to me.
You are.
And, obviously I've been talking for a while about how I'm getting ready to start writing columns for the Chair Shot. Got a big one coming. I can't tell you. And listen, I can't. Listen, here's the thing. It's almost ready. I've been working real hard on it. I can't tell you much about it yet because I haven't found the perfect title, but it's ready to go and it will be posted very, very soon. Just keep an eye out on that, and that's all I got for you.
All right, Rance. What's likely to happen first? The column dropping or me being back on this show?
You be back on the show. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Fake news.
Oh my God. Bro, I thought you were at least gonna say it was coming out in a week. Like you ain't even finished with it yet, dog. Like
I just said I was. I still have a title yet.
oh my God. That gave me the laugh I needed to get through the night. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no problem.
So yeah, like always, you can find me at It's Ray Cash, REY as in Mysterio, CASH as in dollars. You can find the show at Outsiders Edge SS. We're gonna tweet from there eventually. Maybe that'll be Rob's job to tweet from the fan page.
That's a fantastic idea. Put that job on someone else.
Right?
Because we are
sure ain't gonna
trash.
do it. Carl tweets all day long. There are times where I will text Carl trying to get his attention, and he won't text me back. But he'll be tweeting just up a storm. But he will not log on to the Outsiders Edge
I
page.
tweet on my phone, and I could just easily flip over to the Outsiders Edge account. It's right there. Just gotta click it. I don't. I always see like a +20 on notifications or whatever, and I'm like, Rance will get to it. Someone will.
Yeah, we're the guys asking you to listen to our podcast. Yes.
Does Caleb have access still? Maybe he'll get on there.
That's okay. That's okay. Because then it'll just be nothing but Impact spam. That's all right. Yes. Speaking of not Caleb, but the podcast. Follow Social Suplex, the podcast network, at Social Suplex, also socialsuplex.com. You can find all the podcasts wherever you listen to them. Podcast Addict, Podbean, where we host them. Apple Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, anything you look at. Shout out to One Nation Radio at One Nation Radio with Rich and James, who's apparently back. Shout out to Keeping It Strong Style, who are working overtime with the G1 going on. Josh and Jeremy, our New Japan show. Shout out to Grown Man, at KI Strong Style. Shout out to Grown Man Watch This Shit, our indie show. James and Chris, they just did a show on the Progress show. At Grown Man Pod. And of course the homies, my brothers Ricky and Clive. They gave you guys an early podcast on Tuesday because Ricky had to go out and shine bright like a diamond.
Looking slick.
Boy, look here. But yeah, follow them at Ricky and Clive. They announced it, so I guess we can announce it. September 3rd, Labor Day, you will be getting a special Fab 5 pod from Ricky and Clive and the Outsiders Edge, including our third member, when Rob's not here, Kyle. We will be giving you guys a special panel show. Won't tell you what, but you'll enjoy it. Just know it's going to be fun, it's going to be interesting, and it's going to be two-parted.
I don't even know what we're doing, so don't worry about it. No, if you're not in the loop, I'm not either.
He knows. Yeah, yes, exactly. Yes. Uh, you guys need to see the video of these podcasts. Um, but yes, it will be dual parted. So one half of it will be on Outsiders Edge, the other half will be on Ricky and Clive, and we will also have Kyle is going to All In. So sometime that week, if it's not all three of us, me and him will be on here to give you guys All In recap, and I'm gonna shit all over the show. So yeah, that's always fun.
I'm going to try and find a way to watch that. I know it's broadcast on a few things. I don't know how to access any of that stuff. But when I figure it out, I'm going to try and watch it. Maybe.
So I have the option of watching All In or having a fantasy football draft. Which one y'all think I'm gonna do?
Well, I know which one you're doing. All my fantasy football drafts are on different. They don't fall on all in. Now, it is my daughter's birthday, but the show's at night. So she'll be asleep. So we're good. I'll watch it. Probably not. I
She
won't
will
watch it.
never
I'm full of shit.
Yeah,
I'm not going to watch it.
yes, we know. No, I'm gonna watch it eventually. I'm not gonna watch it that night, but I'll definitely watch it eventually for sure. Especially if Kyle tells me it was a great show. But next week Kyle will be on, and it will be our SummerSlam preview.
Yeah.
So and Takeover, which is interesting, especially with Aleister Black being injured and the Gargano Ciampa match being changed to a singles match, last man standing for the championship. Uh, so many wrinkles that we probably should have talked about that, but we didn't have time. We'll go into it next week. Yeah. So yeah, show love, keep following us, keep listening. Uh,
Hey,
yeah.
Rance, real quick, since
Yes,
I'm
sir.
not going to be here for the predictions episode, Brock wins.
Okay.
All right. Okay. In fact, do this for me, Rob. Sometime between now and next Thursday, text me or tweet me, DM me all your picks
You
for both
got it.
shows, and I'll mention them as we're going through it.
You got it.
Yeah, we can do that. That sounds good.
We could do that for all pay-per-views as far as I'm concerned. You are family, so I'm
Well,
good
we
with that.
technically already do it in our own little predictions group anyway.
This is a good point. Yes. So yeah. Other than that, guys, anything else?
That's all I got. But I think there is one
No.
more thing to leave them with.
We have to leave you with this because this is super important, especially after the news of today with a certain Mr. Brooks and Mr. Colton. Just in case you guys didn't enjoy something of the show, maybe we said something that bothered you. Maybe we just weren't work great enough. Maybe we were a 3.5 star match in a world full of 6.5s. We want you to know that we appreciate you listening, but you have to respect us because we are following our dreams, and because what else do I say? I forgot the rest of it.
This fucker write it down. We're fine.
I wrote down perjury.
Oh,
Perjury. We're off the rails. Have a good night, guys.
take it easy, fellas.